Good morning and welcome to this training video on the LJA response levels. You all are familiar with this chart that we developed back in March in order to have a gradual response to different circumstances in our community or at our school. Yesterday we were at LJA level 1 plus, and as you learned today, we're at LJA response level 2. With the prognosis that we will go into LJA response level 3 at some point this year. The purpose of this video is to go over this chart and our responses at each level, risk level. Rather, it's to give you an understanding of the why behind the chart in order for you to make informed judgments in your classroom or on the spot, wherever you may happen to be. Our vision for our campus is that our students and staff feel safe, feel that we're taking the appropriate actions, not overreacting, not underreacting to the circumstances that surround us. And only by understanding the philosophy behind this framework can you make those judgments. So at level 2, a level of heightened risk in which there is something called sustained community spread, where there may or may not have been cases at LJA. What we do is we continue to operate as a campus with the option for people to be in remote or distance learning environments. So what's changed between yesterday and today? You can take a look at our practices, protocols, and procedures booklet, and you'll see in section 1 the 14 criteria that the LJA Medical Hui considers in deciding whether we're at LJA level 1 or 2. Some of the data are quantitative, including the 7-day moving average of positivity rates on Oahu, particularly in the city and county of Honolulu, to the more qualitative kinds of information like experiences of local practitioners in terms of the kinds of cases that they're seeing come into their offices. So that balance between qualitative and quantitative data is vital to making medical judgments on which level of response we're in. Key differences between the two levels. Whereas in level 1 we have isolated outbreaks of COVID around the island, when we move to level 2 we have something called sustained community spread. An outbreak in one part of the island is connected in some way to the outbreak in another. And that's where we are today. We're finding that there is sustained community spread on Oahu, particularly in the city and county of Honolulu. We have had no confirmed cases at LJA, but if we did, we would react appropriately and we could still be in level 2. So you understand the difference between response level 1 and 2 in terms of the 14 criteria that the Medical Hui considers. What are some of the key differences and similarities between our responses in our classrooms and in our facilities? We still, at level 2, continue to have an open campus with a remote learning option. We continue to have enhanced cleaning and safety practices on campus. Continue to do our physical distancing, 3 to 6 feet, with a preference towards the 6-foot distance. Smaller group sizes, which are easier to do in the elementary and junior school, or lower school and junior school. Whenever possible, preserving ohana bubbles. Ohana bubbles could be groups as small as 6 that stay together throughout the day, to as large as a grade level, which might number 50 or 60 students. And that's primarily at the secondary level. But we want to try to preserve those ohana bubbles and create that family feel and that sense of obligation to one another. We not only want to create the ohana bubbles around our students and our staff, but around their families. Mask wearing now becomes mandatory with rare exceptions for medical reasons that are documented with our school nurse, or particular situations outdoors, for example, or playing sports within certain centers-based activities. So we've talked a little bit about the differences in practice between level 1 and 2. What's the big picture behind this? What should be informing your judgment? What we're trying to do is forestall the incursion of the virus onto campus through some of these practices. Underlying all of these are working in well-ventilated spaces, hand washing, hygiene, both here in school and at home, keeping sick children and adults home or off campus, those pre-screening things. Those help us to prevent the virus from coming onto campus. Once on campus, these additional tactics help us to mitigate spread. We can't eliminate the risk that the virus will come on campus or spread on campus. It's likely that at some point, the longer this pandemic goes, that we will have a case on campus. And in those cases, we do have procedures and protocols to follow, to isolate, to disinfect, and to remediate both spaces and to ultimately restore the individual and classrooms to school. So our hope in creating this framework of 4 levels of response was to allow LJA to stay in operation to continue to serve our students and staff in a safe way at each level of response. Regardless of the circumstances in our community or on campus, we should be able to move between these levels fluidly. Instead of just simply going from level 1 plus, as we did last spring, to level 4, or level 3, where we shut down completely. These provide us some additional options in order to provide a safe school environment to all of our students and staff. That's the motivation behind a leveled response system, and I hope that you've learned something from this video. Thank you.